Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask the Maker number 3. So let's start out on YouTube, and the first question is if we got anything new in the mix. So right now we are working on cam pens and also designing and starting to machine a new folding knife. That knife project's going to be huge. I'm hoping to have it a prototype or have probably maybe the first batch for sale by the end of this year. So that's the big news. I got a new Gambit coin that's going to have a bearing in it. And then I'm doing a collaboration with Chris Bathgate next year. So that's everything. Next chest top has to come out pretty soon. Possibly this year when we're done with cam pens, if the Soul pens still have enough stock on them. So that's what's going on. And then the next question is, why are your products so dang expensive? Somebody's not happy. Totally understandable question. This stuff's expensive. So rather than me spending a ton of time explaining that, I have a video, and if you search "no way I am paying that for a top," I made it 7 years ago, and basically it covers the answer to that question. So check that one out by Billet Spin. Okay, on to Reddit. Just had one question out of curiosity. The diamond Soul pens are timed so the center line of the clip lines up with the top and bottom vertices of a column of diamonds. So in a similar way, is the clip center line supposed to be in line with a column of drops on the teardrop Soul pen? It wasn't on mine. So I wasn't sure if it was to be designed lined up that way. Thanks for all you do. So that is a 100% fantastic question. So here's the thing. When I first did the teardrop Soul pen, the timing was completely random because in my mind, was it possible to time them? Probably. It's difficult with threads. And the other problem is it really depends on how tight you tighten it. So if you tighten the end cap, a little bit tighter than another person, the timing is going to be off a little bit. And so what I did was I just made it random. And it lined up wherever it lined up. And then I thought on some of these newer versions, that's when the Soul pen started. And then the newer versions with the different milling patterns, I thought, why don't I just try it, especially when it came to the twist variation. And so I put the ball on top of the ridge that goes around the twist variation. But even there, that flat has got some surface. So it has a little bit of play depending on how tight you tighten it. It still fits on there. And that went relatively well, and I didn't have any customer service issues because of that. So then when we did the diamond pattern, which is what our friend one Redditor is asking about, I said, well, I'll do it again. And that diamond pattern was the real test because it's not like that twist where if it's off a little bit, you're going to see it. So when you time it and it looks like it's purposely done, and then they over tighten it a little bit and it's off just a little bit, that's worse than if it's off just a ton. You'd rather have it off a ton than just off a little bit because it looks like you tried to line them up and now they're just off a little bit, and that'll just drive you crazy. Or if it's just a random location, that doesn't seem to bother people as much. So anyways, we did it with the diamond pattern, and we haven't sold like a ton of those. We've sold a lot, but not a ton. And there is a difference there. And I haven't had any customer service complaints about that. So I might do the timing on future stuff with like the teardrops and this and that. It really just depends on the customer service. But again, if you do swap out end caps, it's not going to be timed. So that's the problem. There's a lot to that timing when there's threads involved, and that's a fantastic question. So I'm still on the fence. The one you have isn't timed. That's one of the early versions, and just the current ones we don't time them as well. So with the teardrop patterns. So hope that makes sense. It's a tough one. It really is. I thought about that when I first designed it, is to have a bolt-on clip so that you don't have this this issue with the timing. But again, it really hasn't been an issue. People haven't, it hasn't stopped people from buying the Soul pen, the fact that it's a random timing on the teardrop pattern. This guy is awesome. Thanks. I'm like an acquired taste. Thanks, Rich. Have these little snapshots you approach. I'd love to hear more about the challenges of machining different materials, including any of the Damascus, the Timascus layered materials, and why you decided not to do bronze and copper pens anymore. That is a really, really good question, and one that I get quite a bit. So here's the thing let's talk about Timascus, which is layered titanium, compared to pure titanium. I will machine Timascus all day long. I'll take it machining wise over regular titanium all day long. And here's why. Titanium, when you machine it, is a very, very strange material, but it's really hard to break up the chips. So if you don't break up the chips, they're long and stringy and they get all over everything. And titanium against titanium galls. And what that means is if you took a ball of titanium, or let's just say you took a chunk of titanium and then you had another piece of titanium that was machined and it was spinning, and you put it on there and held it on there, it would actually like weld itself together. That's called galling. And it's terrible because when chips drag on there, it welds some of the chips onto the barrel and it wrecks the finish. So having these long stringy chips causes problems. So what we have to do is actually called peck turning. So as the tool turns, it goes like this, and it takes a really long time, but it helps break up the chips. In layered titanium and Timascus, because they're layered, the chips just break apart. So you don't have these big stringy chips. It's much easier to control the chips. The chips are the problem. The other problem is with stringy chips, titanium work hardens. So if you get it hot, if the tool that you're using to cut creates friction, it actually gets the material rock hard and you can't cut it, it's wrecked. So when you get this ball of chips on there, the coolant can't get down in there and keep the tool cool. It overheats, and then you've got big problems. So I will take that. As far as Damascus, it's like stainless steel. The different Damascus from different suppliers varies, but we have tooling specific for that stuff, and it's really not terrible, not at all. It's much easier because you can break the chips up in Damascus and even stainless steel compared to a titanium or a Zerk. So really what it comes down to is the type of processes you use, the type of tooling you use, and chips that is the biggest challenge, 100%. So like on a stem, titanium stem, we have to do a lot of program stops, machine stops, go in, pull out the chips that are, they're on top of it, big ball of chips stuck to the stem. You got to get those off of there, come back in, do some more work, stop the machine, pull it out, stop them, that kind of thing, and it's a real pain. That's the biggest challenge. Okay, why don't I do bronze or copper pens anymore? And I won't. And here is why, and this will make sense to you. There's several reasons. Number one, it's too heavy. I like to make stuff that I want to make. It's too heavy. I get complaints. The biggest complaint that I get through customer service is the pens are too heavy. They wish they were lighter. So making a copper or bronze pen would weigh way more than a titanium pen. So that's number one. Number two, it's extremely copper especially is extremely soft. I'm talking extremely soft. Take a copper pen and just tap it against another pen and you'll dent it. Take a titanium pen and do that, you won't see any damage. So don't do that. But that's what would happen. So it's just not durable. If you drop a copper pen, you're gonna wreck it. It'll dent the nose cap. The refill won't come out. There'll be all sorts of problems. That's the first problem, or that's the second issue with it being heavy. And here's the third, and this one's really gonna hit home for you. Because it's so soft, I should say this is a separate thing. Anyways, because it's so soft, you can scratch it extremely easily, and that's massive customer service issues. So here, machining and everything, while we handle it, assembly, all that stuff, any scratches whatsoever, pen's going to be junk. But then it patinas. We have to inventory these, and I make enough to sit on these for quite a while. I'm going to have to sit on this inventory and keep it free of patina. It's a huge problem when we inventory this stuff. All this stuff so that I can sell a pen, and you guys are going to probably want that pen at the same price or cheaper than a titanium pen. never going to happen. It's just not worth it. And there's such small demand for it. It's a fantastic question, but we will never do it. There's just nothing. Bronze would be a little bit different, but a lot of the same things apply. Thanks for the thoughtful responses on the previous one. I have a Zerk cam pen, love the Blue Accents variant. Would you ever consider a blue actuator screw and pocket clip screw sold separately? If you guys want anything custom like that, just message Sue at support@billetspin.com. I can't stress this enough. I just make stuff. I make stuff. I take the pictures. I give it to Sue. She handles all the rest. So if you want, let's say you want a full titanium or a full Timascus pen, message her. Let's say that you want a Timascus clip, message her. You know, you want blue screws, message her. You want to buy a new the newer version mechanism, message her. She's the one that handles all of that stuff. Support@billetspin.com. Sue, she's very busy. She'll get back to you when she can. If she doesn't get back to you, in 3 or 4 days, just shoot her another email. Go easy on her. She's got so much stuff to do, guys. It's crazy. But she's the one that you want to talk to. Okay, looks like the last question. When will you be making a cam pen with more unique pattern? I've heard great things about the mech, but can't justify the purchase without having a more interesting barrel. Well, here's the thing about that. That's a really, really good question. So you notice that there's a price difference between the cam pen and the sole pen, and one of the reasons why is because the sole pen has a milled barrel where the cam pen has a turn barrel. So basically, I could make this straight across, and I could make it with this pattern, and it basically takes the exact same amount of time. When you add milling on a 5-axis machine, it adds considerable amount of cost. So will I do a cam pen barrel that has different milling on it? For sure. Eventually I will, but the price will be higher because it's going to take substantially longer. By substantially longer, a complex milling pattern barrel will literally take twice as long compared to machining the entire barrel. So that's the problem. And on a 5-axis Integrex that costs $500,000, there's going to be some added cost there. So I really wanted to get the cam pen out there in the most affordable variations, and that's what we've done. But will that happen in the future? For sure, especially because of the bolt-on clip. All the patterns and stuff will line up, and we'll definitely do that. So that's all I got for today. If you guys have questions, put them in the reply to this YouTube video or on Reddit. Just put it right down here, and I'll cover it in the next Maker video. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. Really enjoy these questions. We'll talk to you later.